Reality show couple zero interaction in 5 days? Ethan Vance, Caleb Hale, marriage on the rocks, 3 years over? Love in the Limelight's explosive debut, fan-favorite couple plagued by awkwardness. Was pop star Caleb Hale in it alone? From Vance and Hale to Hollywood's other power couples. A look at marriages that are all for show. Ethan Vance's new film Ignition set to save the fall box office? Vance fans urge Caleb Hale on Twitter, stick to being pretty, stop dragging Ethan down. The headlines were relentless. Marcus, Caleb's agent, read them with a growing sense of dread. He tossed the tablet onto the coffee table, the sound muffled by a stack of fashion magazines. He tried to keep his voice even, explaining that in the 1 month he was in Europe, Caleb had gone behind his and the entire team's back. He said that with no evaluation, no analysis, he had secretly signed them up for this reality show, generating a tidal wave of negative press. The first episode of Love in the Limelight had already aired, providing endless fodder for gossip blogs and rival fan bases. Marcus's phone hadn't stopped buzzing since he landed at LAX. He silenced another incoming call, his patience finally snapping. He erupted, asking Caleb if he was some kind of idiot, if this was all a deliberate attempt to sabotage him. He reminded Caleb of the plan their two teams had spent months carefully crafting. In 2 months, after Caleb's new movie premiered, they were supposed to announce the divorce. It was all arranged to minimize career impact, a clean, amicable split. He demanded to know how he was supposed to manage the fallout from this new, very public disaster. Caleb, looking sullen, said nothing. He lit a cigarette, his silence a stubborn admission of guilt. He had already faced Ethan's quiet disapproval. What more could Marcus do? Marcus, rubbing his temples, said that if he was going to sign the contract, the least he could have done was to actually perform. He pointed out that of the 4 couples on the show, they had the highest profile, the most to gain. The first episode, Marcus lamented, was excruciating. The other 3 couples were affectionate, natural. But he and Ethan, they were like strangers. The Orrs had struggled to piece together a few stilted conversations that felt more forced than a product placement. He asked Caleb if he was trying to generate controversy for the show, or if this was just his bizarre way of laying the groundwork for their divorce. Caleb had been absorbing the endless stream of mockery from Ethan's fans and glee from his own detractors for weeks. He finally lost his temper, complaining about the show's first filming location. He described being dragged to a remote, rustic lodge deep in the Rocky Mountains to avoid paparazzi. He questioned what kind of romantic television could possibly be filmed in such a desolate place. Marcus, taking a deep breath, told him he needed to at least pretend to have feelings for Ethan. He asked if he couldn't just act. Caleb retorted that Marcus, of all people, knew the limitations of his acting skills. He threw the cigarette down, his frustration boiling over. He blamed Marcus for his career's stagnation, for not letting him take acting classes, for curating his projects so carefully that he had no room to grow. He claimed that otherwise he would have left actors like Leo Bishop in his dust. Leo Bishop, a talented Juilliard-trained actor and Ethan's former student, was one of the few young performers in Hollywood Ethan genuinely respected. Caleb had long considered him a rival. Marcus sighed, explaining for the 100th time that Leo was hopelessly straight. He added, perhaps too bluntly, that if Ethan had ever shown the slightest interest in Leo, Caleb would never have been in the picture at all. Caleb fell silent. Marcus was right. He knew his position had always been precarious. Seeing Caleb's expression darken, Marcus realized his mistake. He tried to backtrack, awkwardly asking if Caleb still had feelings for Ethan. Caleb just stared, his face a mask. Though they had been married for 3 years, their relationship was in name only. It was an industry secret that Ethan Vance and Caleb Hale had a contract marriage, a deal brokered by Marcus. They had almost no personal connection. The time they had spent together could be measured in days, not years. Ethan, at 29, was an industry heavyweight, a director and actor known for his intense dedication. He spent most of the year on set, his public appearances limited to premieres and award ceremonies. He was reserved, a man of few words and fewer friends, his career built on raw talent, not publicity stunts. Caleb was his opposite. At 23, he was a pop sensation, an it boy who had leveraged his staggering good looks into a film career. His fame was a product of viral moments and a carefully managed social media presence. The contrast was stark. It was no surprise that someone like Ethan Vance would look down on him. Their awkwardness on the show was inevitable. The irony was that Marcus had been the one to arrange the marriage in the first place. When Caleb, fresh out of business school, was signed to the agency, his father, Marcus's boss, had given a simple directive: make his son a star. Marcus knew that building a credible career from scratch was impossible. So he chose a shortcut, a high-profile sham marriage. The plan was for a 3-year contract, enough time to generate buzz, followed by a quiet divorce. He'd initially considered another actor from their agency, but Caleb, bold and naive, had insisted on only one person, Ethan Vance. Marcus had almost laughed him out of the room. Ethan had the pedigree, the awards, the respect. But Caleb had been lucky. Ethan had a connection to Caleb's older brother, and he and Marcus had been acquaintances in college. More importantly, Ethan had just come out and was being relentlessly pursued by a notoriously volatile European model. He hated the drama. A marriage, even a fake one, was a convenient shield. His team also saw it as a way to shed his teen heartthrob image and transition into more serious roles. So he agreed. For the first year, Ethan had filmed overseas for 15 months, effectively disappearing. When he returned, he immediately threw himself into directing his own film. In 3 years, the so-called interactions between them were mostly press releases and staged photos orchestrated by their teams. To his CR, Caleb had used the platform effectively. His looks and a certain bad boy charm had won him a massive following, making him a bona fide star in his own right. Just as Marcus was preparing to execute the divorce strategy, Caleb had presented him with the reality show fiasco. Marcus knew why Caleb had done it. He remembered the old rumors about the agency owner's youngest son having a long-standing crush on an A-list star, secretly visiting his film sets for months as a teenager. He had dismissed it as gossip, but after managing Caleb for years, he knew the lovelorn fan had been him. He felt a pang of sympathy. To have a crush on someone as famously aloof as Ethan seemed a special kind of torture. He tried to reason with Caleb, telling him that this last-ditch effort was pointless. He said that Ethan probably already suspected his feelings, and this would only make the inevitable divorce more awkward. Caleb picked up another cigarette, his voice low. He admitted that in the past, he had been subtle, but now, with the end in sight, he was done hiding. If he had to be on camera, he wanted Ethan to at least have to pretend to like him. It was a game he could play for himself. Marcus, exasperated, wondered aloud how Caleb had even convinced Ethan to agree to the show. He knew Caleb could be reckless, but Ethan was pragmatic. Caleb mumbled something about having contacted Ethan directly. He told Ethan his public exposure was low and asked for this one last favor before the divorce. He had offered, in exchange, to be Ethan's friend for a month, available to him in any way he wanted, even offering to spend a month on his set. Marcus was stunned by his audacity. Caleb's face flushed, and he said nothing more. Marcus knew what that meant. Ethan hadn't taken the offer. Shifting gears, Marcus told him that filming for the next segment started tomorrow, and he needed to salvage the situation. He instructed Caleb to be more affectionate. He told him that if Ethan wouldn't initiate, he had to. In front of the cameras, Ethan wouldn't be able to push him away. He advised him to learn from the other couples, wipe his sweat, offer him food, kiss him if the moment was right. Caleb's blush deepened. Marcus, losing his patience, pointed out that the Italian couple on the show had already kissed multiple times. He reminded Caleb of the first episode, when Ethan had offered a hand while they were hiking a steep trail, and Caleb had flinched away like a startled animal. Caleb shot back that the mountain was incredibly high and he was exhausted, his mind numb. He hadn't been prepared for the touch. He swore that the next time Ethan reached for his hand, he would intertwine their fingers and pull him into a deep, French kiss. Marcus was horrified by his lack of subtlety. He told him to just try holding his hand or putting an arm around his waist during a quiet moment. Caleb imagined it and immediately recoiled, asking what he should do if Ethan hit him for being too forward. He reminded Marcus that Ethan didn't even like him. Marcus insisted that Ethan was just reserved, not violent. He argued that if Ethan truly despised him, he never would have agreed to the show in the first place. He tried a different tactic, reminding Caleb that their 3-year contract was almost up. This show might be the last chance he ever had to be this close to Ethan, to touch him under the guise of their marriage. Once they were officially divorced, no event organizer in their right mind would put them in the same room, let alone on the same stage. The thought of never seeing Ethan again, not even by accident, seemed to finally land. Caleb scowled and waved a dismissive hand, telling Marcus he understood. The next day, on the way to the filming location, Caleb's assistant handed him a bottle of water, trying to distract him from the negative articles he was scrolling through on his tablet. The show's director, riding with them, made awkward small talk. He mentioned that to avoid fans, the locations were always either abroad or in deep wilderness. He apologized for the long drive into the countryside and the rainy weather, which would force them to do their solo interviews that morning. He then let slip that Ethan would be arriving an hour late, as he had already filmed his interview at his hotel the previous day. Caleb was used to being informed of Ethan's schedule by third parties. He asked what the interview was about. The director explained they were questions from fans, asking about each other's personal preferences. He confessed, stammering, that when asked about Caleb's birthday and favorite color, Ethan hadn't known the answers. Caleb gave a bitter smile and looked out the window. When they arrived, Caleb put on his public face. He flipped his cap backward, winked at the camera, and was escorted to the interview area. He watched the couple before him and felt a surge of confidence. The interviewer started with pleasantries before gently asking about the public's mixed reactions to the first episode. Caleb was defiant, stating that everyone expresses love differently. The interviewer then moved on to the fan questions. He asked who pursued whom. Caleb, thinking back to his foolish teenage years, admitted that he had pursued Ethan. Where did they go for their honeymoon? Caleb invented a tropical resort. What was a small thing the other had done that moved him? He stalled, then shamelessly borrowed an answer he'd overheard from the previous couple, claiming Ethan once got up in the middle of the night to get him a glass of hot water. The interviewer's expression faltered slightly. The actress before him had said her husband did that for her when she had menstrual cramps. Ethan's birthday? December 12th. His favorite movie? The Mockingbird. The questions grew more personal. The interviewer asked if Ethan, who appeared so cool and distant, was actually warm and affectionate in private. Caleb hesitated, then, thinking of his online critics, insisted that Ethan was very good to him. Did they kiss often when they were alone? Caleb's ears turned red as he claimed that they did, that Ethan loved to kiss him. He said they were together constantly, a lie so blatant he felt his own cheeks burn. When the interviewer asked if Ethan was gentle in their private moments, Caleb was so flustered he could barely speak, but still managed to force out a confirmation. Just as the interview concluded, he turned and saw him. Ethan was sitting in a chair at the back of the room, watching. Caleb felt his entire face flush, the memory of his brazen lies echoing in the sudden silence. Later, the day's task was announced. Couples would be working separately to earn money, which they could then use to buy a surprise for their partner. Caleb, still mortified, was glad to be separated from Ethan. His task, drawn by lottery, was to work as a laborer for a local bricklayer. After hours of hauling bricks from a truck to a scaffolding, his hands were raw and blistered. For all his effort, he had earned just over $50. Frustrated, he skipped lunch and worked through the afternoon. By the end of the day, he had made $140. He ignored the stinging pain in his hands, his only thought to find a place that sold fireworks. The name of Ethan's new film was Ignition. He thought a private fireworks display would be a romantic gesture, a clever nod that would silence the critics. His assistant, seeing his mangled hands, was horrified. Caleb sent him off with all the money, telling him to buy everything they had. He waited for Ethan in the small courtyard of the farmhouse they'd been assigned. He imagined Ethan returning, perhaps with a small gift of his own. A simple flower, anything would have been enough. When Ethan finally arrived, his hands were empty. Ethan's gaze fell immediately to Caleb's blistered palms, his brow furrowed in concern. A member of Ethan's crew explained that Ethan's task had been to substitute teach at the local elementary school. He had earned $100, which he had promptly donated to the school. The words hung in the air. Caleb's grand gesture suddenly felt foolish. Just then, his assistant returned, not with dazzling rockets, but with 2 large bags of what looked like cheap firecrackers and party snappers. He explained that there were no specialty shops in the small village. This was all he could find at a store that supplied items for local festivals. The fatigue of the day crashed over Caleb. He told his assistant to leave, then sank onto the doorstep, pulling a towel over his head to hide his face. He felt a familiar ache, a disappointment that stretched back years. It was always like this. Ethan watched him, a silent confusion on his face. He remembered the call from Marcus and his promise to make an effort. He walked over, covering the nearest camera with his jacket before crouching down beside Caleb. He asked softly if his hands hurt. The simple sound of his voice, laced with what might have been concern, made Caleb's eyes sting. It wasn't his hands that hurt. Caleb's voice was muffled beneath the towel. He asked Ethan not to cover the lens. He wanted them to record this to capture one moment of Ethan being kind to him. He didn't want to seem so pathetic anymore. He confessed, his voice cracking, that he wouldn't be debasing himself like this if he didn't care so much. Ethan looked at the raw, red skin of Caleb's hands, then thought of the vicious online comments. For the first time, he understood. He apologized, admitting he had no experience with this and had made things difficult for him. Caleb said it wasn't his fault, that it was his own doing. He stood up, saying he needed a walk. At that moment, in the control room, the crew gasped. On the monitor, Ethan reached out, pulled Caleb back by the waist, and pressed his lips against his. It was brief, hesitant. Then, with a practiced eye, Ethan scanned the placement of the hidden cameras. He chose his angle, pulled Caleb against a weathered stone wall, one arm supporting his back, and kissed him again, deeper this time. In the control room, there was stunned silence, then whispers. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Caleb's on-set director fretted that Ethan was bullying him, that Caleb was crying. But another crew member, a young woman, disagreed. She said that if Caleb didn't want it, he would have thrown Ethan over his shoulder. She found the scene thrilling. The only person who could possibly tame Caleb Hale was Ethan Vance. Ethan finally pulled away. He looked at Caleb, whose face was flushed, his breathing unsteady. He asked if he was still angry. Caleb, leaning against the wall for support, shook his head. He was mortified by his own passive response. He had frozen, unable to do anything but receive the kiss. He tried to act casual, thanking Ethan. He said that now that people had seen Ethan initiate a kiss, maybe they would stop calling him a desperate stalker. Ethan was quiet. The kiss hadn't been just for the cameras. But Caleb, his mind racing, didn't notice. He began to ramble about dinner, about his hand not really hurting, about how he hoped the kiss was filmed well. Ethan watched him, a flicker of a smile on his lips. He followed Caleb back toward the house, a new, unspoken understanding between them. The next day, the shoot wrapped. Ethan's agent, Julia, was already there, waiting to whisk him away. As Ethan was about to get in the car, he remembered Caleb had left the burn ointment for his hands in their room. He sent his assistant to retrieve it and deliver it to Caleb. In the car, Julia was furious. She demanded to know why Ethan had agreed to postpone the divorce by at least 6 months, possibly a year. Ethan explained that to divorce immediately after filming a couple's reality show would look bad. Julia scoffed, saying they didn't need that kind of publicity. His upcoming films were more than enough to dominate the news cycle. Ethan's gaze hardened. He asked her, his voice dangerously quiet, if that was why no one on his team had bothered to tell him about the relentless online attacks against Caleb. Julia was taken aback. She admitted she had seen the negative press as advantageous for Ethan's image post-divorce. She had assumed he didn't care. Ethan thought of the evening before, of Caleb's shocked, almost innocent reaction to his kiss. He couldn't reconcile that with the promiscuous Playboy image his agent was painting. He told her he didn't want to hear her speak ill of Caleb again. He said that if they were to be together for real, he was confident he could handle him. Julia was speechless. Later, Ethan's assistant suggested that he should take Caleb up on his original, indecent proposal. He argued that Caleb was used to that kind of lifestyle, so Ethan might as well get something out of the deal. Ethan's expression turned to ice. He told his assistant, in no uncertain terms, to never speak of Caleb that way again. He said that what the assistant was suggesting wasn't a transaction. It was marital rape. The assistant fell silent, chastened. A week later, the teaser for the episode, the one with the kiss, was released. The internet exploded. Marcus called Ethan ecstatic, thanking him. The public narrative had shifted overnight. The doubters were silenced. Ethan felt a pang in his chest. He asked Marcus a question that had been bothering him for years. He asked about the rumors of a tycoon's son visiting a star's set. Marcus went quiet, then confirmed it had been Caleb. Ethan asked for the details, and Marcus, after a moment's hesitation, told him everything. 6 years ago, when Caleb was barely 18, he had spent 2 months secretly visiting the set of Ethan's winter shoot. Every day, he would sneak into Ethan's trailer and leave a hot water bottle in his coat and a box of snacks. On the final day of shooting, he had planned to confess his feelings. But the production wrapped early. Ethan flew to a remote location for his next film that very night, out of contact for months. Caleb was left standing alone in an empty, freezing cold film lot. Ethan hung up the phone, a cold dread washing over him. He drove to Caleb's apartment, the one listed as their marital home, a place he had never once visited. He stood outside, watching the light in the window. Marcus was right. Caleb loved him. He could walk in there right now, say nothing of the past, and Caleb would welcome him. They could start from there, and Caleb would never know what had been stolen from him. The lie would be a kindness. He knocked. Caleb opened the door, shocked to see him. He was in sweatpants, a pair of headphones around his neck, looking younger and softer than Ethan had ever seen him. Ethan looked at him, truly looked at him, and knew he couldn't build their future on a foundation of deceit. He took a deep breath. He told Caleb, his voice steady, that 6 years ago, he had visited his set for 2 months. He said that all of Caleb's kindness had been mistaken for someone else's. He confessed that he had heard the rumors but never once considered it could have been him. He told Caleb that his feelings had been completely betrayed, and that no love, no matter how strong, deserved to be buried for that long. He said that failing to find Caleb sooner was entirely his fault. He looked into Caleb's widening, disbelieving eyes, his own voice thick with emotion, and asked if Caleb would give him the chance to start over, to pursue him properly this time.